like for real, when she's there and I feel oh, hello, breastfeeding. When she's there and I feel comfortable, I'm like, oh, this is going to take a long time. And it's so hard. Like, it's so hard. I could not sustain my breath. They were counting, and they were all like, you know, cheerleadering, and it was, you know, this whole hypnobirthing thing. They were like, well, that's nice, but not when the baby's OP.
Like that? Time for that.
I hate that.
Like, they're like,
you practice it for 6 months
anyway,
and then...
they're like, not when the baby's, you know, occiput posterior, and not when, you know, we have a lot of pressure to do a C-section if you don't get this baby out.
Right.
So I was like, okay. Pushing was from hell. Anyway.
Well, the part of the story that I like is that you missed is when you got out of the shower at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, I don't know, Amy's making a lot of noises.
Right.
And then she kind of like grunts or something. And the nurse says, that sounds like you're ready to push.
Yeah, she knew.
Like,
before they even...
Before you checked her.
Yeah,
she said, that's not... Because I had said to her, I'm like, you know, I really feel like I have to poop. I kind of feel a pushy feeling.
Pressure, yeah.
But it didn't make so much sense because my contractions were still 3 to 4 minutes apart.
It's actually not all that regular. I mean, they
were kind of still irregular. It didn't look like active labor.
Mm-hmm.
And so nobody assumed that I was in active labor, but I was. and are you going to eat? You going to eat, little pokey? Anyway, so finally, you know what really did it is after 3 hours, Jerry told me that she had to offer me a C-section because it had been 3 hours and the OBs were sort of pushing for it. She's like, but, she said, the baby looks great on the monitor, you're doing great. She's like, I said, I really don't want a C-section at this point after all of this. She's like, I think that's a fine choice, but I had to offer it to you. And I was like, no, don't want to do it. So for 2 more hours, like under pressure of I might get a C-section, and then finally, like after an hour and a half, Yogam. Have you ever met Dr. Yogam? Do you know this surly lady who sells Indian food at the farmers market, at the Temescal farmers market?
Sort of like
the same personality. She's apparently she's a brilliant surgeon, and people have a lot of respect for her skills as a gynecologist and OB, but she never smiles. She's so grouchy and grumpy. Anyway, she's on. She comes in.
Doesn't really say much though. She doesn't really pressure you for the C-section.
She didn't. She came in and
she does it as a routine.
No,
practice?
she came in.
She knew what was happening and
she knew what was happening, and she wanted to see how my pushing was going and whether or not she was going to be sectioning me. So just before she came in, I started monster pushing.
Yeah.
Just totally, shaking after
every ounce you got.
And they're like every and you know, I take a deep breath, and like 10 seconds later, they would start counting to 10.
Right. God, I remember that.
They didn't count.
Like, my memory of it is, it felt like there was 20 people all around me going, okay, 1, 2, you know, except there were 3. But it felt like there were 25 people.
There were 3 people, and Jerry has a little bit of a funny personality. Like, she was sitting there kind of like, ho hum, this is going to take a while. Okay, you're going to feel my hand. You know,
I don't know her at all.
Well, she was tired. She was exhausted.
And she was exhausted. She had 3 people in, and she had to leave and come back and leave and come back. Anyway, Stacia was the best.
Yeah.
Stacia, our doula, was the best in coaching the pushing. And she was really, like, wanting me to push hard.
Right.
Anyway, so I finally really got into it. And just then, here comes Dr. Yogam. And she's like, you know, what's going on? And she saw me. Actually, the baby's head was coming out. And she saw this, and I was like, I'm going to get this baby out in 4 pushes.
Just watch.
Yeah. And
stick around.
And Jerry's
the
like,
midwife kind of goes, no, that. And so the next push, like, I made serious progress. I mean,
this is for
the head
this
is
is for
frickin'
the
hanging.
OB right here. This is a push for Dr. Yogam.
Yeah, and the head is like hanging in my perineum halfway out, which is, I don't know if you had that since that, but it is awful.
Well, but I mean, actually, the first push wasn't much. The first push was
With
not
yoga?
that great. With yoga, was not that great, and you were like laboring a little bit, and you were worried, and you asked Dr. Yogam about like, well, you know, what do you think? And
but at that point, with
and she said, well, you know, you said 4 pushes. That's only one.
No, she said, you said 4 pushes. That's one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see what you got. You got 3 more to go.
You got 3 more to go.
At that point, with the baby out of
Yeah,
they would.
They would.
Yeah.
Wow.
They would, because they worry about the baby having pressure on the head.
Wow.
So, all right. So then, it was maybe like 6 or 7 pushes later.
Yeah. Well, then you had one more push, and that push you really got the baby in the perineum.
Yogam was there.
And then Yogam left.
And she walked out. She didn't say anything.
She just left.
You convinced her.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
exactly.
that was maybe when the baby was really, like, head was halfway hanging out. So then, and it's excruciating. You have to wait till the next contraction
and then the shoulder,
to go again.
Well, I don't know if
that part was fine.
The shoulders.
No, she turned. I turned her. I think that's
just
what
naturally she turned as you were pushing,
as I was
or they
pushing,
got in there
and they got in there.
Yeah.
As I was pushing, and they sticking their hands in there and turned her, and then finally at the end, like I couldn't quite get her out, so she had to cut a little episiotomy, which is fine. You know, and the monitors were confusing because my heart rate was 140 and so was hers. I mean, I was working so hard.
Yeah.
And so they were like, couldn't tell who was who and what was going on, and the monitor was moving all over the place.
And the scalpel actually didn't work, and blah, blah, blah.
Right, and they were worried that she was hypoxic, and
baby's
who knows, right?
Right.
And she's like, the baby has to come out. I think I need to cut an episiotomy. I'm like, do it.
Yeah, that's it right there. She could have sold you a
Anyway,
land.
so at the end of the day, once I got her head out,
everything.
The rest was no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to do like four big
But you could
pushes.
feel that major progress.
I could feel it. I could see it. They had a big mirror.
Yeah.
You could see everything. It was really cool. And there were some, pediatric people to check the baby. Her Apgars were 8 and 9.
Nice.
Yeah, she was great. She was pink right away. She's breastfeeding now.
Yeah, look at her.
She's so good.
She already
very
barked
long
on me.
nails.
She has very
So
long
she's
long
nails.
fingers or long nails?
Well, her nails.
The nails.
She's fully term.
She's fully term. That's the difference between. You can see it. Her nails are beautiful, actually. It looks like she had the best manicure ever. Oh.
It's probably a pretty high moisture and protein environment in there.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That's wonderful for the cuticles.
Anyway, that's it, man. And then.
That's a huge amount of work.
And they put her right on my belly, and she's just been, and I was like, oh my God, that's an 8-pound baby.
You could tell. You could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's chubby. I mean.
Can we see her?
Well.